Good morning, everyone. This morning, I'm honored to introduce to you to Margaret Burke, who graduated from the Ohio State University in 2016 with a degree in English in foreign language education. She then spent all of 2017 living in Perezoridon, Costa Rica, and teaching English as she completed her Fulbright grant as an English assistant. Soon after, Mo joined the Education USA Network in 2018 when she began to work for Centro Cultural Costarricense Norteamericano in San Pedro, San Jose. She has helped many students make their way to study in the United States, including many of her Opportunity Fund students. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her dog, Gallo Pinto. Today, she will be talking about opportunities there are to study in the US. And we also have Lucia today. Thank you, Lucia, for being here. Thank you, Mo, for being here today. And I will be sharing the attendance link during this presentation. And thank you, Mo and Lucia, for accepting this invitation. And I guess, you know, the room is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. As Kevin said, my name is Margaret, but everyone calls me Mo. And I did live in Perezoridon for a year and a half. I was working with CUNA, English courses, and Access on Saturdays. And Perezoridon has a very special place in my heart. Now I work for Education USA Costa Rica in San Jose. And today with me is my assistant, Lucia Valles Naranjo. Lucia graduated from the University of Costa Rica with her bachelor's in English teaching. And she spent a year in Michigan in the United States on an exchange program. So if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat publicly, or if it's more of a private question, you can send it to Lucia in a private message, and Lucia will be collecting the questions. I also realize that sometimes I talk very fast when I get excited. So if I am speaking too quickly, just put in the chat that you would like me to slow down, or if I use a word that you don't know, you can ask what that word is in Spanish, and Lucia and Kevin can help translate for you so that you understand. So we're going to get started. First, we like to explain what is Education USA. Education USA is a program that is funded by the US Department of State or the US government. And we exist all around the world and in a lot of countries, right? And our ultimate goal is to help international students apply to study in the United States for a degree, like a bachelor's or a master's or a doctorate degree, right? And our educational advising services are free. Okay, we offer the most up-to-date information about US universities and colleges and the process. And as I mentioned, we exist all around the world. In Costa Rica, there's only one center, and there are only two powerful women, which would be myself and Lucia. And we are located in the San Pedro building of the Centro Cultural. You may have visited the Centro Cultural to take the TOEIC or to do something like that. It's a very popular building in San Pedro. However, we do normally travel around the country when we are not in a pandemic. So Lucia and I typically, we go to Perez, we go to Limon, we go to Liberia to promote our services. And we can also always give you an advising session via Zoom so that you don't have to travel. Because right now we're still working from home. So we would do it through Zoom anyway. But yes, so as I mentioned, we're located in the Centro Cultural. And I always like to start off the presentation by, let's see if I can continue. I think my computer is frozen. There we go. Okay. By showing shows what Education USA is and what our goal is for everyone who's with us. So we're going to watch this video really quickly. Okay, so now we're going to look at some frequently asked questions that we get in Education USA. The most frequently asked question that we get is if we are a scholarship program or if we have scholarships. And unfortunately, we are not a scholarship program and we do not have any financial aid or money to pay for your studies in the United States. Okay, so we are not a scholarship program. We are an educational advising program. So we will help you and guide you in the process as you apply to US universities to study in the United States. And we can guide you towards scholarship opportunities or funding opportunities, but we in Education USA do not have the money to fund your education. Another question we often get is if there are opportunities to improve your English while you are in the United States. The answer to this is yes and no. So if you would like to study a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral program in the United States, you need to already have an advanced level of English because you have to take the TOEFL exam, which is an English exam, to get into the university, right? But we also have universities and colleges in the United States that offer intensive English programs where a student can go and live at the university and have the university experience, but instead of taking biology and math classes, they just take intensive English classes. However, it's important to keep in mind that these intensive English courses have their own costs, right? They're not free. They do have an expensive cost. And so it's something you would have to consider if you would prefer to learn Costa Rica here, if you prefer to learn English in Costa Rica and then go, or if you would like to have that experience of learning English in the United States. Another question we often get up here in orange is if we can help you find a short-term study abroad program. We do not have study abroad programs in Education USA, but I can tell you about a few that exist. For example, Lucia went to the United States as an au pair, which is like a niñera, and she went with the Intercultura program, and they helped her with her visa, and she went and lived with a family and worked and got to have that experience. You could also consider doing work and study, which is where you could go during your vacation in December and January and February to work in the United States at like a ski resort or some kind of touristic place. I believe Intercultura can also help you with that. There's different programs, but in Education USA, we focus on helping you apply to an academic program at a university, right? To study a program. And it's important to consider this word internship because people always want to have experience in the United States, work experience, right? And so if you study in the United States on a student visa, which is an F1 visa, then you can extend your visa 1 year and work in the United States with a program that's called OPT, which is really great. So if you get your bachelor's in engineering and then you apply to extend your visa, you could work for 1 year for an engineering company and make money, right? And then come back to Costa Rica with that experience. Finally, another question we get is if we have partnerships or agreements with specific US colleges. No, we do not have a specific list of universities. We actually represent all the universities in the United States, and we will help each one of you find the best university for you, because the best university for me is not going to be the same as it is for Kevin or for Lucia, right? We all have different goals and likes and dislikes. So we do not have a specific list of universities, but rather help you find the best university for you. Oh, sorry, my computer. So I invite you now, when we get started, we always like to ask the audience why you want to study in the United States. So if you can put in the chat for me, or if anyone is brave and wants to raise their hand and unmute themselves, why do you want to study in the United States?
And I would like to answer the question.
Yes, please go ahead.
I really would like to go to study to the United States because like to practice my English, obviously, but also to improve my vocabulary, because sometimes we in class use like more technical vocabulary maybe, and I would like to learn like more, I don't know how to say it, like informal vocabulary maybe.
Slang. You would like to learn
Yeah.
slang. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so that would be like
Thank you,
my
Christina.
main goal. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, of course. When you are living in an environment where English is spoken as the native language, you will definitely improve your English, right? When I lived in Perez at the beginning, I didn't know any of the dichos ticos or anything pachuco, and then over the year I learned all of those things, and now understand when people talk to me. Someone else wrote in the chat that they want to learn English. These are all good reasons as well. And we're going to talk about some other common reasons that people like to study in the United States. So the first one is that we offer a quality education in the United States because we work with accredited universities. In Costa Rica, the major or the carrera is accredited, but in the United States, the entire institution is accredited. The university is accredited. And when a university is accredited, this means that they are proving that they have really great professors, that they are innovating their curriculum, that the students are learning everything they need to learn before they graduate, right? Another common reason that people want to study in the United States is because we offer some unique programs that may not exist in Costa Rica, or maybe they're not very popular. So for example, we have programs in cybersecurity, we have programs in animation and film, we have biomedical engineering, which is not very popular in Costa Rica. And for teaching, we have a lot of unique teaching degrees. We might have a master's in educational technology, a master's in linguistics and TESOL. We have a lot of different options. And we also have a lot of institutions. In Costa Rica, you guys have, the magic number is 5. You have 5 public universities and 55 private universities. In the United States, we have 4,700 universities and colleges. So we have a lot of options. If you want to live in a city, we have lots of universities in the city. If you want to live out in a rural area, we have lots of areas out in a rural area. If you want a small university, a big university, a religious university, a non-religious university, we have a lot of options for you. Another reason people would like to study in the United States is because it's a life-changing experience. So you will not only come back to Costa Rica bilingual, but you will also come back bicultural, which is different. I like to believe I've been living in Costa Rica for almost 5 years now, which is crazy for me. And I like to believe that I am now bicultural. I fully understand the Tico culture, and I fully understand my culture, and I understand where they are similar and where they are not similar, and I can exist in both cultures, right? So this would happen if you went and studied in the United States, and you would have this experience. You also may have international work experience when you come back. When you go to study in the United States, you can work 20 hours per week. So it's kind of like the horas estudiantiles that you have in Costa Rica, where you can work a few hours and make a little bit of extra money. It's not, a ton of money for you to pay for your education, but it's extra money so that you can go to the movies, you can buy, shampoo, your toothbrush, extra things that you may want to buy. And finally, the last reason is that we have a lot of flexibility in the education system in the United States. So if you are in your bachelor's degree in the United States and you're in your second year and you're studying biology and you realize that you don't like it and you want to change to chemical engineering, you don't necessarily have to wait a whole year to change your area of study, right? We know that we're young and we don't know what we want to do. And so changing that is normally pretty easy. And I changed my degree 3 times when I was in my bachelor's. First, I wanted to study and be a math teacher. Then I wanted to be just a teacher. And then I finally changed to Spanish teaching. And I still graduated in 4 years, right? So we have a lot of flexibility in our path. And I think it's important to explain the system in the United States so that you understand the differences. for us, high school is 4 years, right? We don't have a séptimo, octavo, noveno, undécimo. No, we have 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And that's how it is in all 50 states. We have 4 years of high school. After high school, the next degree that people try to get is the undergraduate degree, which is the bachelor's degree, right? And it's a 4-year degree. 4 years in a private university, 4 years in a public university. It's a 4-year degree. And there are a couple different options. You could either start in one university and study the full 4 years, but we also have the option of doing 2 years in a community college and then changing to another institution and learning 2 more years. After your bachelor's, you can either go to your master's or your PhD, because in the United States, we do not have licenciatura. Before I came to Costa Rica, I had never heard the word licenciatura. And people always ask me, how do you say licenciatura in English? And I honestly just guess, because we don't have it. So I've never seen that degree. I believe that they have it maybe in Canada, but not in the United States. And the important thing to keep in mind is that you do not have to go bachelor's, master's, PhD. In many areas in the United States, you can graduate with your bachelor's and apply directly to your PhD, right? You don't have to do the linear sequencing, okay? We just had a student who graduated from the University of Costa Rica, San Ramon, in English teaching, and he has his bachelor's, and he is now going to start a PhD in linguistics. He did not get his master's. He applied directly to the PhD. So that is possible in specific areas. So after explaining what we do not do, you may be wondering, okay, so what do you do? We help you in the process to apply. And the process to apply is long and a little bit complicated. We can help you apply for a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a doctorate degree, right? But all of this will take a year to a year and a half. It is a long process. And so we divide the process in 5 steps. First, we help you look at your options, right? You have 4,700 options, and we help you find a list of maybe 10 that you are interested in. Then we talk about, how do you want to finance your studies? Do you need generous funding and scholarships? Or do you have a family member that lives in New Jersey and you could maybe live with them to lower the cost, right? Would you consider taking a loan for your education? These are all things that we talk about. The third step is the longest step, which is actually applying. And applying includes lots of essays, standardized tests, maybe an interview, asking for letters of recommendation, and we help you with all of that. After you apply, if you are admitted to a U.S. university, then we help you apply for your student visa. A student visa is different than a tourist visa, right? So a lot of times our students say, es que ya tengo la visa, but that's the tourist visa. When you go to study in the United States, you have to apply for a different visa. And we explain the steps where you can do it, right? The 5th step is before you leave, and we call it pre-departure orientation, which is like kind of like a 1 or 2 day camp where we tell you everything you need to know before you leave. So what are the big cultural differences that you may encounter when you get there? How does the health system work in the United States, and how can you get your medications, right? How do you sign up for classes? What are free resources on your university campus? These are all things, and all of our services are free. So we will help you in the entire process for free. So now we're going to talk about the different steps a little bit further, right? So the first thing you do is you research your options, and you have to find one that works for you academically, financially, and personally, right? So a lot of times students say, I want to go to Harvard, I want to go to Yale, I want to go to Cornell. Those are Ivy League schools. Those are very, very competitive schools. If your promedio is 7.8, that does not follow your student profile. That does not work for you academically, right? So we need to find universities that are in your profile on the academic level, the personal level. They have things that you would like to do in your free time, and the financial level as well, right? And so some websites that we, I'll show you the website soon. But anyway, the first thing you need to decide when you're applying is if you would like to apply for the master's or the doctorate. And there is a difference. So let me explain. In the United States, a master's is more to get the knowledge and apply it, right? So if you get your master's in engineering, you are going to work for a company and use your knowledge as an engineer. A doctoral degree, or a PhD, is for people that want to work in the university environment. They want to work in academia, is the word. Because with a PhD, you will work as a professor and a researcher for the rest of your life. So if you really like to do research, then you should consider applying to a PhD, because this is something that would help you do research and be a teacher for the rest of your life. If you're like me and you don't like research, I know that I will never apply to a PhD program because I do not like to do research. And so I would not be happy, right? We have academic masters and PhDs, and we also have professional masters and PhDs. So for example, if you guys wanted to get your master's in TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages, you would probably get a master's of arts in TESOL, right? Or someone can get a master's of science in engineering. But if you are business oriented, then you could apply for a professional degree, like a master's of business administration or a master in law, okay? So that's where the difference is. Here are the websites that I was talking about before. We recommend using petersons.com and gradschools.com to do your search. And you can put the different things you are looking for. If you're looking for a master's, a PhD, if you're looking for a master's in educational technology or a master's in English teaching, it'll show you all the options and give you information about the location, the cost, everything you need to know. We recommend being organized because you might get a little bit overwhelmed with how many options. And so we recommend using either a notebook, if you're old school, or an Excel. And Lucia can send the Excel in the chat when she gets a chance. We have an Excel that we recommend that you use, where you're going to write down a lot of different things: the program name, university name, where it's located, how much it costs. And this is information that you'll constantly be updating, which is why I think it's easier to do a digital document, so you can make these changes and constantly be updating as you research what you want to do. Step 2, how are we going to pay for this? Which is the most important question for a lot of us, right? So it's important to keep in mind that when you apply to US universities and colleges, it costs money to apply. So you do have to budget and save money to apply to the universities in the United States. And you also have to consider how much it's going to cost to pay for rent and food when you are in the United States, because that is different. I am from Ohio, and Ohio is in the Midwest. The Midwest is generally very economic, right? But if I wanted to move to New York City, it's way more expensive. I'm going to pay a lot of money. And this is similar in Costa Rica, for example. When I was in Costa Rica, I think I paid like 100,000 for my 2-bedroom apartment or house. And in San Jose, I pay a lot more for my apartment because it's a different cost of living. So it's the same idea in Costa Rica and the United States, right? So as I mentioned, when you apply, you have to keep some costs in mind. You will have to pay an application fee, which is money that you pay to each university when you apply. In certain cases, you can explain to them that you are a student from low economic resources, and you could ask for a fee waiver. A fee waiver means you would not have to pay. It's kind of like a mini beca for this cost, right? You also have to get your grades translated. Lucky for you guys, I believe La Una offers translations for your grades, and it's a very reasonable cost, right? It's not $275. I believe it's like 20,000 colones or something like that. It's a very reasonable cost. So you are an advantage that the UNA could translate your grades. You also have to take an exam to prove your English, which could be the TOEFL or IELTS. And everything depends on how many universities you want to apply to, right? If you want to apply to 10 universities, it's going to be more expensive than if you apply to 5 universities. And then these are just very general examples of how much a master's or PhD program could cost in the United States. But this can be very different, right? If you're studying at a public university, it will be cheaper than a private university. And again, if you're studying in an expensive area like New York City or San Francisco, California, your cost of living will be more expensive. But we're going to talk about how can you guys get scholarships or funding to cover your studies in the United States. So as a Costa Rican with your Costa Rican citizenship, you have two options. One, you can apply for funding through the scholarship called the Fulbright, which is offered by the US Embassy, which we'll talk about. Or two, you need to get the scholarship directly from the US university. Unfortunately, in Costa Rica, the government does not have any scholarships to pay for your education in another country. So you need to get the funding directly from the university in the United States. If you have dual citizenship, which means that you are both a US citizen and a Costa Rican citizen, you can apply for government help, which is called FAFSA. However, I will mention that this does not necessarily mean beca. This means a loan, a préstamo, right? And if you are another nationality, for example, if you are from Venezuela or Panama, we can still help you, even though we're in Costa Rica. And you should ask us because sometimes different countries have different opportunities. So maybe in Panama, there's a program you could apply for as a Panamanian citizen that you cannot apply for as a Costa Rican citizen. The most popular way that people get funding as a master's or PhD student are through assistantships, which is this right here. And I'm going to explain what they are. Assistantships are essentially jobs where you are working for the university, okay? The first type is a teaching assistantship. So for example, you are going to teach a course for students in the first year bachelor's program. And because you're teaching, the university is going to pay for your classes and give you a monthly stipend for you to pay rent and buy food, right? So for example, I have a student, she's going to study a program in English teaching, but because she's from Costa Rica and she has teaching experience, she's going to be teaching Spanish 1 to bachelor students at the university, gringo bachelor students that need Spanish. And because she's teaching Spanish 1, they will pay for all of her master's courses and give her money each month for her to live, okay? That's a teaching assistantship. Another kind is a research assistantship. So if you do research in linguistics or research in chemistry, research in cybersecurity, you could work for a professor and help them do research. And for your work as a researcher, they will pay for your tuition and give you a monthly stipend. The last type is a graduate assistantship, which is essentially a job, like working as a secretary for the school or in the library. These assistantships can be full, which means full tuition and classes and stipend, but they can also be partial. So when you are researching, you have to make sure you're looking to see if it's full assistantship or partial assistantship, because if it's partial, you would have to pay for the rest of the costs, right? If you are applying for a research assistantship, it's very important that you are looking up the professors that you want to work with, right? And you are reading their publications, the documents, what they've written, and you also should send them emails. So for example, you send them an email, "Hi, Professor Smith, my name is Margaret Burke, and I am interested in applying to the PhD in linguistics. I am super interested on your recent publication about syntax. And I wanted to ask you if you are looking for researchers for next year," right? So you want to see what professors you want to be your mentors when you are at that program. There are some patterns for funding in the United States. There's more funding available at the PhD level than at the master's level, but that doesn't mean that there's zero money, but it's just there's more money available at the PhD level. And there's more money available at research universities versus master's universities. And there's more money available for academic programs than professional programs. So unfortunately, if you say, "Mo, I want to study a master's in business administration," I will say, "Okay, but there's no funding in Masters of Business Administration. That would have to be paid for and financed by yourself, right? And the money, it can be different depending on what you study. So there is a lot of money in STEM. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And there's less money in humanities, but this does not mean that there's no money, right? I already gave you an example. My student Felix is going to study a PhD in linguistics. Linguistics is not STEM, and he is going with full funding. So it is there and it is possible, right? And the scholarship I had mentioned to you before was Fulbright. Fulbright is a scholarship offered by the US Embassy in San Jose. And Fulbright is a scholarship that will pay for 2 years of study at the graduate level. So most people get master's degrees, but you could apply for a PhD. And if you get the PhD, the Fulbright will pay for the first 2 years and the university needs to pay for the last 3 years, okay? The Fulbright program is very competitive. They're looking for excellent candidates who have graduated from their bachelor's, have some work experience, who have a clear goal of how they want to help Costa Rica, because the requirement is that you have to come back to Costa Rica and live in Costa Rica for 2 years. The Fulbright Scholarship opens every year in February and closes in April. And so I recommend that you follow the US Embassy in San Jose on Facebook, because they always announce when they're going to open this, right? To apply for Fulbright, you need to be a Costa Rican citizen or permanent citizen. Citizen or permanent resident. You have to have your bachelor's degree completed, right? So you can't apply in your 3rd year. You have to be done. You have to speak English at an advanced level, and they do have preference. So they do like to see people going for English teaching, for computer science. But if you study something different that's not on the list, you can still apply, right? I believe someone this last year applied. I think someone's mic is on.
Johnny, ¿está por ahí?
Michelle Gonzalez, your microphone is on. Her mic.
Michelle, tu micrófono está encendido. I cannot mute her, I'm sorry. I don't know if...
It's okay.
Johnny, ¿estás por ahí?
Let's try and send her a message in the chat. Maybe she'll see the message that her microphone is on.
Así yo me imagino que yo se lo pasé.
So if anyone has Michelle's number, perhaps you could text her and ask her to mute herself.
Sorry.
Thank you, Michelle. And now I believe that David Marine's mic is, there we go. Okay. All righty. So they do give preference to specific areas of study, but you can apply for other areas as well, and you will still have a chance, right? So the 3rd step of the application process is to apply. And when you apply to a master's or PhD, you will have to turn in a lot of different things, including some different tests that you have to take, some essays. You might have to turn in a writing sample so that they can see your work as an English writer, and letters of recommendation from your professors. You will also have to turn in a resume or CV. Those are 2 different things, which we can help explain, and fill out the application. And you're also going to have to turn in your transcripts. Your transcripts are your grades and the translations, right? Which I told you the UNA luckily has the option to do it for you. So the English test, you have different options. The most popular is the TOEFL. And the first question that you're probably going to ask me is, can I take the TOEIC? Which unfortunately, no, the TOEIC is different. The TOEIC is taken for working purposes. So MEP teachers, university teachers, people that want to work for the public sector in Costa Rica take the TOEIC, okay? The TOEFL is more of an English test for academic purposes. So you would have to take the TOEFL. You have other options like the IELTS and sometimes the Duolingo, which is a little bit cheaper. But you have to make sure that your university would accept these tests, right? And you do need to practice. I know you all speak advanced English, but the TOEFL test has a lot of different questions and they give you a different amount of time to answer each question. So if you have not practiced, you may not do that well because you're not ready for the time or for the question that's coming, right? You may also be required to take a standardized exam. The most popular would be the GRE, which is an admission exam into a master's or PhD. However, a lot of universities are now GRE optional, which means that you do not have to take it for those universities, which is great because the GRE is expensive and it takes a while to study. So when you're looking, you should make sure if the program is asking for the GRE or the GRE is not a requirement, right? You will also be required to turn in some different essays. We have 3 different types of essays that they can ask you for, which would be the personal statement, statement of purpose, or study objectives, which are very different types of essays, which we will also be explaining in other webinars if you would like to come. And then you have to turn in a resume or CV. And this is very different in the United States. In Costa Rica, you put your picture, you put your cedula. In the United States, we do not put our picture, we do not put our cedula. It's very different. So we in Education USA can help you get your CV ready for a US application, right? And as I mentioned, in certain areas, you might have to send in a writing sample, which might be like a paper that you've turned in for an English class or something like that, so they can see your work. You also have to ask for letters of recommendation from your professors or current employers. And these are normally 2 to 3 letters that are written in English, okay? They are submitted directly by the university professor. So for example, Professor Kevin would be a wonderful option because he's your professor. He knows what you're like in the academic setting. He also speaks English, so you wouldn't have to pay for the translation, right? And Kevin is very responsible. So Kevin would send it directly to the university and help you with this process. If your teachers do not submit the letters, your application is actually incomplete. So you have to think about that and think about your professor's schedule, because if you ask them at the end of November, and give them a week. The end of November is a very crazy time for professors because they're finishing the semester, and that's not enough time for them to write this letter, right? You also have to turn in your transcripts, which are all of your grades from your university level, right? So even if you started in the Bachillerato de Psicología and then you changed to the Bachelor's in English Teaching, you have to turn in all of your grades from the undergraduate level, okay? In English and in Spanish. And they have to be official, which in Costa Rica, this means they have to be signed by the Vicerrectoría. And if they're not signed by the Vicerrectoría, then that's not the most official version that you can get. And then you also have to fill out the application. They're going to ask you for your name, your address, where you studied, and all of those different things that they're going to ask you. And I already explained that you will have to pay the university to apply. But you could ask for an application fee waiver, which is kind of like a beca, so that you don't have to pay for that, and you can lower your cost of applying, excuse me. So step 4, after you've been admitted and you've gotten into the university, then you have to apply for your student visa, which normally will happen in April or May. It's one of the last things that you do. And you do have to show your proof of how you will pay for your studies. So if you get an assistantship from the university, you will show the letter that says, "Dear Kevin, you have received a teaching assistantship, blah, 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 blah." If you are paying for your master's, you will have to show like your bank information to show that you have a money in a bank account to pay for your studies, right? Unfortunately, the student visa does have costs, and it is an expensive visa. You first have to pay $350 to be in the SEVI system, which is for students. Then you pay the $160, just like you do when you get your tourist visa. And then when you are approved, you have to pay $68. So it's almost $600 for the student visa, which is why it's important to budget ahead of time for all of these different costs, right? And step 5, as I mentioned, we talk about everything you need to do before you leave. So I'll tell you that you should go visit all of your doctors before you leave. You should get some medication because in the first few months in the United States, you won't have a doctor yet. You buy your flight, everything you need to know. We will help you before you leave so that the transition is an easy transition. But this is a long process, guys. So I'm not going to read all of this because you can all read all of it, but maybe you want to take a screenshot. I mentioned that this takes about 1.5 years from start to finish. And we try and divide all of the things that you need to do into different sections. So looking for the schools, preparing for the tests. It's going to take a few months to prepare for the tests. Writing your essays. That's going to take a few months. You're not just going to do it in one day, right? Getting all of the documents ready. As you know, sometimes getting documents in Costa Rica can take a while, especially with the pandemic. So you have to do it with a lot of time and you have to ask your professors for the letters of recommendation with enough time. And you would be applying by November and December, right? So for example, if you want to start your master's in 2022, you have to apply by November or December of 2021. And that would be to start in August or September, actually. So where and how? As I mentioned, it's important to do the research. You need to find options that are feasible options. It's another word for realistic options for you, that you could get funding, that you have the same academic profile, right? Everything that you need to know about the institution. As I mentioned, we do a lot of different events in Education USA. For example, on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, we have an event where we're going to be explaining the 2 different types of essays, the statement of purpose and the personal statement, and what are the differences and how you can write them. So I definitely recommend that you join us. We will also have some students with us who are from Costa Rica and Mexico who have already applied, and they are going to tell us about their experiences writing these documents, right? So it's free, 5 o'clock. You can join us on Zoom by signing up on that link, or we'll also be on Facebook Live if you want to join us on Facebook Live, Education USA Costa Rica. So now I'm going to go ahead and invite you guys to ask questions. You can either write them in the chat or you can raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask and talk like Christina did at the beginning. Or you can send them privately to Kevin, send them privately to Lucia, send them privately to me. And don't be shy. If you have a question, I'm sure one of your classmates also has a question. And the questions can be in English or in Spanish. Si le dan vergüenza, pueden preguntar en español. También hablo español. And it also can be just about like US culture. If you have a question about US culture or my experience in Costa Rica as a gringa, anything you want. So what questions do you have? Don't be shy.
Sebastian has a question, I guess.
Sorry, I have 2 questions.
Oh, Lucia has 2 questions and then we can hear from Sebastian.
Yes.
Okay.
So how long are the master's programs? And if we have to get the vaccine before we get to the United States to study?
Good questions. One, the master's program, it depends on the program. So for example, Lucia's brother, actually, he has the Fulbright scholarship from the embassy that I mentioned. His program is 1.5 years. So his program is 18 months. But most master's programs are 2 years. 2 years is normally the normal master's. And no, you are not required to get the vaccine before you go because the universities know that the vaccine is not available for everyone in all countries. And so a lot of my students, for example, my students that will leave in August, they will probably get vaccinated in the United States because they haven't gotten it yet in Costa Rica, but it's very easily available and they can get the vaccine as soon as they get to the United States. Sebastian, what was your question? I don't know if you're going to unmute yourself or write it in the chat.
Oh, well, good morning.
Good morning.
My question is this. I mean, I do have family in the US, so will this make this process a little bit more like easier knowing that I have people there, or is just the same?
Yes and no. So it's easier knowing that you have family there because then when you're there, you have someone who can help you understand, like, you know, how does the bank work and where can you get all of these things, right? But the universities will not will not take that into consideration when they look at your application, right? They're not going to say, oh, Sebas has family, we should accept him. That's not taken into consideration. And then as for the living side, it depends on the university, because the universities need to know that you have enough money to support yourself for living, right? And so people say, oh, I'm going to live with my cousin or my aunt. But the problem is that the universities need to know that you have the money just in case, because what happens if you fight with your cousin or your aunt and you can't live with your cousin or your aunt anymore? They need to know that you still have a plan B and you could still pay for your rent, right? So it does help in certain ways, but it also is not like an automatic guarantee for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Sebas. Any
Thank you,
other
Sebastián.
questions?
Thank you, Sebastián. Then we have Luis Ulloa.
Tell me.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Professor, and everyone for the presentation. I would like to ask you if how important are the grades in this kind of process of our course during bachelor degree?
Very good question. So grades are important, right? I'm not going to lie, but they're not the only thing that the universities are going to consider. In the United States, the universities use a holistic approach, which means that they're looking at your entire profile, right? They're going to consider Luis's grades, but they're also going to consider what courses Luis took. They're also going to consider the recommendation letters from Luis's teachers and the extracurricular activities he did, what grade he got on the TOEFL, right? And if you failed a course in your bachelor's degree, you should justify why you failed that course in your essays, right? So for example, if freshman year your mom died and you failed 3 courses, that is something that you should mention. And you should mention, I went through a very difficult personal time when my mother died, and as a result, I failed 3 classes. But I pushed forward, I continued my studies, and ever since then, I have been getting good grades, right? That's something that you should mention in your essay so the universities know why that happened, right? But we do, if you want to study a master's or a PhD in the United States, it's ideal that your ponderal is like 8.3 or higher. That is a good area that you should be hoping to have your ponderal. Good question.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. More questions?
Does Sebastián have another question? Sebas, do you have another question?
Yes. If we have informal participation or like experience in assistance, does this work or help us during the process? Maybe if we mention it, you know, like
horas estudiantil, or what do you mean by assistance?
Well, when I used to be in high school, I remember that due to like schedule and stuff, I had some assistance. I helped with some assistance to my teachers during like exams and stuff, and they granted me like recommendation letters and stuff, but I didn't actually took them, and now I think that they might work in the future.
Okay, so those types of things definitely count for extracurricular activities, right? The only thing I will mention is that when you apply to a master's or PhD, they only want to see things from your bachelor's degree, right? They do not, anything from high school now is not relevant anymore. It was too long ago, right? So if you are doing volunteering or helping people in your bachelor's, you should definitely put that on your resume and your CV and mention it in your essays, right? But you don't need anything formal. So I think a lot of times in Costa Rica, you guys get certificados, like certificado de voluntariado de 10 horas. We don't do that in the United States. We don't get certificados. We simply, if we do something, we put it on our resume. And if we lie and they find out we lie, you are in big trouble because we use the honor code. So anything that we put on our resume is expected to be true. And if they find out you're lying, you could have very serious consequences. Like they could potentially take away your scholarship or take away your admission to the university, right? So I've never had to show them, here's my certificado for 100 horas de voluntariado. I just tell them I did 100 hours of volunteer work. Here's my reference. You can call her if you need to call her and talk to her, right? So yeah, definitely Sebas, stay active. I encourage you guys, don't only study, right? Look for other activities, social responsibility, volunteering. student clubs, student association, look for leadership opportunities. These are really important when you apply to U.S. universities and colleges, right?
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have 2 more questions.
Yeah, tell me.
One, how difficult is to apply for the student visa regarding the requirements? And 2 is from Christina. She wants to know, why did you choose Costa Rica to work and live?
Okay, so the student visa, if you get into the university, they have to give you a document. That document is called the I-20. And this document says like, okay, New York University accepted Lucia. Lucia is going to study the master's in English, blah, 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 right? So as long as you have these documents and you can show them that you will have enough money to survive in the United States, whether it's from a scholarship from the university or from your personal funds, it's not that complicated, right? I don't want you to worry. It's not like the tourist visa where you guys are you don't know, really, you don't know 50-50, yes or no. If you have your documents and you are these are real documents, you are going to study, you have the proof, you have the evidence, they should give you the visa, right? It's not something like that. However, if you go and you show them documents and they say, okay, how are you going to pay for your money? And you show them like that your aunt's husband who's divorced has this money, like that doesn't convince me, right? That doesn't show me like a realistic situation that you're going to study. And so they might say, no, you don't have the money to go. You don't have the evidence to show me, right? Why did I choose Costa Rica? Great question. So I don't know if you heard Kevin, but I studied to be a Spanish teacher. So I actually studied to do what you guys are doing, but the opposite, to teach gringos Spanish. And so when I was in college, when I was in university, I had to study in another country because I had to go back and take the TOEIC in Spanish, right? And so when I was looking for options, my professors in college told me not to go to Spain because a lot of people speak English in Europe, and they didn't think that I was going to get to practice my Spanish because everyone would talk to me in English. And I was considering Costa Rica or the Dominican Republic. And my professor told me that I wouldn't understand anyone in the Dominican Republic because of their accent, and that Costa Rica has a very clear accent and dialect, and that it would be a really good environment for me to improve my Spanish. So I came in 2014 and I lived in Cartago for 3 months with mi mamá tica y mi abuela tica, and I fell in love with the country and the people. The Costa Ricans are very warm, very friendly, very welcoming. I fell in love with like the relaxed lifestyle, like the Pura Vida lifestyle. Everything in the United States is like fast and efficient, whereas Costa Rica, it's more take a break, drink some coffee, talk with your friends, and enjoy your life. And I really enjoy that. I also love the food. Love, chifrijo, pinto. I had pinto this morning. Natilla, love natilla. And of course, the beautiful beaches and mountains and waterfalls that we have in Costa Rica. It's always an adventure. Great question. Any more questions?
Kendall Barbosa has another question.
Yeah, tell me.
Go ahead, Kendall.
Yeah, good morning. So my question is, can I study English teaching bachelor in the United States, or is just for master and PhD?
They do offer bachelors, but it's not called bachelors in English teaching. It would be called bachelors in TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. That is offered at the bachelor's level. However, because you guys are already in a bachelor's in Costa Rica, it would be very complicated for you to apply to a bachelor's in the United States because you would not be considered a first-year student. You would be considered a transfer student, and there's no funding for transfer students. So you would have to pay for your education. So in this case, we actually recommend finishing your bachelor's in Costa Rica and considering the master's in the United States, because you would then be applying as a first-year master's student. And there's actually more money at the bachelor's. There's more money at the master's and PhD than at the bachelor's level. It's very hard to get a full scholarship at the bachelor's level. Very, very hard. But there's more money and more opportunity at the master's and PhD level.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kendall. Then we have Luis Ulloa.
Thank you again. I was wondering if, I think the most people who came to the activity are from the English teaching career. I was wondering if people who doesn't belong to that career can still have access to the information that you guys present here, or even extra information for the
we help anyone in any area. So I have 2 students that are going to get their PhD in chemistry, another one in biology, another one in linguistics, any area. You can tell all of your friends. I believe we're being recorded, and you can also contact me and Lucia, which I will show you. There you go. We're on Facebook with Education USA Costa Rica. We're also on Instagram. And that's our email address. If you want to have a meeting to talk about your plans and you have questions that you want to ask, then you can send us an email. And please write that you were in this event, right? Tell us, hi, I'm from La Una Coto or La Una Perez, and I was in the charla, and I would like to have a meeting with Mo or Lucia, and we will definitely help you.
Thank you so much for everything.
You're welcome. More questions? I have one more opportunity to tell you guys about, but I like these questions. These are very good questions.
Thank you, Luis, for your question. And we have Kendall again.
Yes, I think this question is not about what we are talking about, but I want to make it.
Okay.
If I'm studying a bachelor in English teaching, can I go and work in the United States as a Spanish teacher?
So I think that there's a program that helps you do that. And I believe that the program is called Participate. That is a specific program that looks for teachers from Costa Rica and other Spanish-speaking countries. And if you are accepted into the program, they send you to work as a Spanish teacher in the United States, right? That's the only program I know of, right? And so you could definitely research it, try to apply. I know a teacher from Betis that she works for MEP. She's she works as a teacher in a escuela, and she did the Participate program, and she went to North Carolina for a year. And now she's back in Costa Rica. So you could definitely research the Participate program as an option.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I also wanted to mention a couple more opportunities that I told you we don't have any scholarships, which is true. But the embassy does have some scholarships. So here are some scholarships that I wanted to mention from the US Embassy. So first is the Fulbright, which is for 2 years at the graduate level, right? There's also a scholarship called UGrad, which is an exchange for 1 semester at a US university. And you can apply between your first and third year of your bachelor's, okay? So this would be to go for like 1 semester. And it's a super cool scholarship. I believe a student named Santiago won from Una Perez León a few years ago. And he went to Iowa, I think, for a semester. UGrad is a great scholarship. And the application normally opens in November. And this is a scholarship with the US Embassy, right? Another scholarship that exists is called SUSI, which is a program to go 6 weeks for a leadership and volunteering exchange. However, SUSI sometimes SUSI has specific requirements. So for example, a few years ago, SUSI was open to Costa Rican girls with African or indigenous heritage, right? But it changes every year. So SUSI also opens in November. So those are 2 programs that you guys could apply to while you're in your bachelor's at La Una, right? if you don't want to wait until your master's. So these are two programs from the U.S. Embassy, okay? UGrad and SUSI. And the final program that I wanted to tell you guys about is called Opportunity Funds, which is one of our favorite programs, okay? I told you guys that we do not have scholarships, which is true 98% of the time. We have one baby scholarship, and this scholarship is called Opportunity Funds. Opportunity Funds is a scholarship from the US government, right? That helps students who are very, very intelligent students, really good grades, really good profile, advanced English, but they don't have the money to apply to a master's or PhD or bachelor's program in the United States. And so this program pays for the application process to the US universities and colleges, right? With the hope that the student could get a full scholarship directly from the US university or college, which is a challenge. This is a big challenge, right? And so for anyone who gets Opportunity Funds, we pay for a TOEFL preparation course, a GRE preparation course. We pay for the TOEFL. We pay for the GRE. We pay for the translations of your grades. If you have to come to the Centro Cultural to talk to me or Lucia, we pay for your bus ticket from Perez or from Coto, right? We pay for the application fees, anything you need to apply. After you apply, if you get a full funding offer from the university, then you can move to phase 2, where we will pay for your passport, we will pay for your visa, we will pay for your ticket, and we will give you some money to help you in the first few months when you have to buy like a snow coat, snow boots, things that you need for your new adventure in the United States, okay? So this opens every year in August. So I encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you're interested in applying. You can apply for Opportunity Funds in your last year of high school or your last year of your bachelor's, okay? So if you're a 4th year bachelor's student, you could apply for Opportunity Funds and we would pay for your application process as you apply for a master's, right? With the hope that the university would give you the funding for you to study at the master's level, okay? We have had some success stories. Isaac graduated from the Colegio Científico in Pérez León, in La UNA, from the UNA campus, right? In 2018, and then all 2019, Isaac studied for his exam hearing, and he applied at the end of 2019 to get into the bachelor's at Tufts University. One second. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I got a message that my internet wasn't stable. Okay, so Isaac spent all of 2019 doing the process, and then he applied at the end of the year to get his bachelor's at Tufts University, and he got in with a 98% scholarship. He got in, his scholarship is about $85,000 a year. So Isaac is now in Boston, Massachusetts, studying electrical engineering. Right? So that's a successful story of someone from Opportunity Funds. Another successful story is Francisco. He graduated from mechanical engineering from the University of Costa Rica, and he got into Princeton University in the PhD program in aerospace engineering with full funding for 5 years. And then this last year, we had 4 students, and all 4 of them got becas completas. We have Felix from UCR, who's going to get a PhD in Linguística, Joshua y Paula, that will get a PhD in Química, and Carol, who is from La UNA, and she's going to get a PhD in Microbiología. So Opportunity Funds is a wonderful program. And again, the requirements are a really strong academic profile. Maybe you have research experience, maybe you have teaching experience, volunteering, leadership, advanced English, and that you come from a familia de bajos recursos. Y sin esta beca no podrían pagar estas cosas para aplicar. So I encourage you to follow us and hopefully apply in August or September of this year. Any last questions about the process, Education USA, Opportunity Funds, or just questions about English culture, my experiences in Costa Rica, anything?
Thank you, Mo, for clarifying. I guess Mr. Ulloa has another question.
Yeah, tell me.
Yes, thank you. This is going to be my last question.
Don't worry.
I was wondering if for example, I'm currently studying informatic engineering in the Universidad Nacional Campus Coto. And I was wondering, what possibilities do we have for improving our English for the test or for the entire process if we maybe learn for ourselves or something like that? Thank you.
So if you want to improve your English for applying to a master's in the United States, you could definitely take English classes in La UNA, right? That's one option. Another option would be to think of the CUNA classes that are offered to try and improve your English. You can also try and learn yourself on the internet. I have seen students who speak advanced English and they taught themselves using the free tools on the internet, right? If you apply to the Opportunity Funds program and you're accepted, we pay for a TOEFL preparation course. So it's a 6-month course where you are preparing to take that TOEFL English exam, right? But yes, in order to get into Opportunity Funds or to apply to any master's or PhD in the United States, you do need to speak high intermediate English to advanced English, and then study. There's a lot of free tools on the internet. I just learned about one the other day. BBC has a website called 6 Minute English, and you can watch videos about different topics that are 6 minutes long, and they're with British accents. So it's a good practice to listen to a new accent. And they talk about everything. They talk about vaccines, they talk about food, they talk about the differences between English, and British English. So free tools are all over the internet for you to improve your English.
Mo, Christina wants to know if you can share any cultural shock experience living here in Costa Rica.
Of course. The weirdest thing for me was how much Costa Ricans brush their teeth. In the United States, we brush our teeth in the morning and at night. And in Costa Rica, you guys brush your teeth after every snack and meal. And so I remember I went to work at CUNA on a Saturday and we had a break and the students were eating. And then I saw everyone with toothpaste. And I was really confused. And I was like, are we going to do like some kind of like educational activity with toothpaste? Like, what are we doing with this toothpaste? I had no idea. And then I started to realize that you all carry a toothbrush and toothpaste with you and brush your teeth all the time. So that was one big shock. Another shock is how patient you have to be when you go to the bank or any kind of building where you might have to wait in line for a long time. Because in the United States, I told you we're very much about efficiency. And so if you go to the bank in the United States, it's fast and you're in and you're out. Whereas in Costa Rica, you could go to Banco Nacional and wait for 2 hours in line and you just have to be patient. What else is another cultural shock? Oh, the word ya. I hate that word because ya can mean like right now. It can mean in 5 minutes. It can mean ya lo hice in the past. It can mean ya, like para. So I don't like that word because I never know. Same with ahorita. The difference between ahorita and ahora. When I first was in Cartago, my host mom said, vamos a comer ahora. And in the States, they teach us that ahora means now, like right now. So I sat down at the table and I was ready to eat, but she meant like ahora, like in 30 minutes. So she was like, no, la comida no está lista. And I was like, why did she tell me that the food was ready now if it's not? And so, yeah, those are some examples of the different things. Ahorita is a very tricky word, yes. And another difference, I will admit, is the quantity of dogs that don't have homes that are on the street. In the United States, you won't see any dogs on the street. Dogs are always at a rescue or they have families. Whereas in Costa Rica, unfortunately, there's a lot of dogs that don't have homes and that you will just see the dogs like running in the streets. That was really hard for me in the beginning because I love dogs. I'm a big dog lover. And so I wanted to help all of the dogs. And I can't adopt all of them. So, but I did adopt one, and Bettis and his name is Pinto. So, yes. Any final questions? It's been very fun being with you guys today. La UNA has a very special place in my heart. I like to say that I'm like a honorary UNA graduate because I spent so much time on campus when I lived in Pérez León, and I love La UNA and was very happy to be invited to do this charla with you guys. So thank you for your great questions and for paying attention. And I hope that we see some of your names in our inbox asking for asesorías or applying for opportunity funds.
I guess there's a final question, Mo. I don't know if we have the chance to answer.
Yeah,
it.
ask me.
Okay, Sebastian, go ahead.
Okay, my question is this. After getting a PhD or a master's degree in the US, does that opens like an opportunity to become a teacher like permanently there, like actually teaching on a university, or just stays like in the Costa Rican ambience, I think?
I have seen examples of students that graduate from a PhD in the United States, and then they might get offered to work as a professor at a US university, right? It is possible, but that is more that's at the PhD level, right? Because in the United States, you cannot teach in college with a master's like you can in Costa Rica. You have to have your PhD to be a university professor. So I have seen examples of students finishing their PhD and then getting an offer to work as a university professor with that PhD, right?
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Lucia, for having accepted the invitation. On behalf of the organizing committee from Semana Académica, thank you very much. And this applause, you guys can use the reactions, please use them. If not in sign language, this applause is for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. We hope to hear from you and get some emails. And I hope that next year we'll be able to visit you in person so I can visit all of my friends in Pérez León and Coto.
Sure, we would love it. Thank you so much, Mo. And I guess a lot of students are interested in participating, right? Thank you.
Good. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Have a great day. Bye.